Madam President, I rise with your leave to lend my support to this bill. As mentioned earlier by my colleagues, I had no intention of contributing to this debate today because I anticipated that it would have such smooth passage through this honorable House. I took advantage of this opportunity to speak, however, because throughout the discussions I realized what a privilege it is for me to be here, appointed as a senator on the government benches. Potential senators for the opposition bench was not so lucky, and thus I must embrace this opportunity to speak on behalf of the people of Nevis. Madam President, I truly believe that we would have been out of here in an hour maximum because this bill, this amendment to this bill is so straightforward. The idea behind this bill to begin with was to ensure that there is integrity, fairness, transparency in public life, public office, and all those who hold it. We recognize, because of some breakdown in communication on the other side, that we were not able to execute this mandate that is so important to those on the government benches. We value the ability to be able to have those checks and balances. So when I hear one of the members opposite note that, I don't want to misquote, so when I hear one of the members opposite, indicate that they would not want to be associated with a legislation like this, I have to pause and make my input because I want to be associated with a legislation like this. And I personally believe that anyone in public life who does not possibly have something to hide if you don't want to support a bill such as this. Madam President, it was discussed through and through that up until this point, this, if not the letter, the spirit of this bill has been thoroughly executed throughout the years. When there was the previous member for Nevis 5 on the opposition benches, he would have acted in a responsible manner. He would have communicated and done what was necessary for the people of Nevis 5. And that's good because I grew up in Nevis 5. So he would have communicated and ensured that not only their voices were represented, but the opposition voice was represented because he would have seen the value in that. Unfortunately, at this point, we have two members on the opposite side who has the capacity and the ability to nominate and have appointed a leader of the opposition, but they have failed and continue to fail to do so. Because there was no timeline on this, they can still, Madam President, get their act together, grow up, and make that recommendation. I say grow up. I'm young, as it would have indicated earlier. I was not alive when the Constitution was being created. So I came into this honorable House as, the youngest member. And I expected an example to be set. And I appreciate my colleagues on the government benches because they have been setting said example. I am, however, disappointed by my colleagues on the opposition benches as I anticipated that this House would be fully constituted. I'd be able to refer to my senator on the opposite side as well, and we'd be able to have robust debate for the betterment of the country. But because of a failure to come together and put the interests of the people of Nevis first, we simply do not have that today, Madam President. So, Madam President, when I hear talks about this being an attempt at dictatorship, I know the member for Nevis 3 went into teacher mode just a while ago, and he would have gone over the bill. Because it is impossible that anyone who read the amendment to this bill, that they would say this is an attempt at dictatorship. The door was wide open for this to become a case where we can take over and make it a case of dictatorship. It was spread open first. It was like, here, welcome, come in, take control. But that is not the intention of the members on this side. We continue to try and uphold the basic principles of fairness and integrity and inclusion. So I think, even though we say we don't deserve any blame, I think we have to take some of the blame on this side. Because we keep expecting better, Madam President. We keep expecting better. And this bill proves, this amendment proves that we keep expecting better. So we made provisions, Madam President, for the leader of the opposition to nominate a member to the commission. That is simple. One member support another member, have a leader of the opposition put in place, and they nominate a member. That's the first step. Okay? Failure to do so, Madam President, we didn't say, okay, they failed at that, or they will continue to fail at that, so throw that away. We said, okay, let's give a second chance, Madam President. And we go. If there is no leader of the opposition, then the Deputy Governor General may appoint a member on the advice of the member or members of the opposition, provided that where there is no member of the opposition or members of the opposition cannot agree on a nominee, then a member will be appointed on the advice of the Premier after consultation with the members of the opposition, if any. So, Madam President, first, the leader of the opposition has a chance. Then if you decide to waste that chance, we still have faith on this side. We have faith that adults will do what adults need to do, and leaders will do what leaders need to do, which is to lead. So we put another mechanism in place. Come together, have a conversation, agree on someone. We have a population of near 12,000 plus. Agree on an appropriate individual and recommend that individual to the Governor General. Madam President, the member opposite for Nevis 4 has more or less already declared to us that that will not happen. Before any conversation has been had, we have basically heard, nope, we will not agree on anything, we will not do this. And so,
Madam President, I know what I would have said earlier in this House, and I do not understand why one would say what I was probably thinking if I did not make an explicit statement regarding my intentions. Madam President, the remarks with regards to the lack of rationale or reasoning for my use of the term dictatorial, Madam President, it is clear in the amendment that is presented that if the NRP wins 5 seats in the next election, then there would be no provision for members on the other side to nominate a commissioner. And so, Madam President, as it is right now, based on the provision speaks only to opposition members. And so if one party happens to win all 5 seats and there are no opposition members, then that party must be excluded from any discussions or dialogue with regards to this particular amendment. Because as was said before, just as a matter of clarification, this is not the only bill that speaks to the leader of the opposition. And so I just wanted to make a point, Madam President, regarding what I said, not what people imagine that I would have said. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam President, that intervention brings me to my next point. We cannot conflate representation in the Nevis Island Assembly with party politics.
That's right.
We cannot conflate what happens here in the Nevis Island Assembly with party politics. The member for Nevis 2 explained how in here, everyone,
Equal.
outside of yourself, we are equal, we are on equal footing. So we cannot make provision, and we should not make provisions in the law to recognize one party outside of over the other.
Precisely.
Madam President, multiple parties come up every day. The member for Nevis 5, who's now an independent candidate, might launch her own party. So we cannot make provisions for parties in the Nevis Island Assembly. We have to make provision for representatives. Currently, we have representatives in the opposition, and so we're ensuring that we put 1 step, 2 step, 3 steps in place to give them a fair chance at representation in government, in this House of Assembly, and in leading the people of Nevis. Those who were not elected, nominated, they have to make their contributions in different ways. Make their contributions again at the next election. Make them when we have general consultations. Make them when you see us on the street. But here in the House of Assembly, we can only make provisions for those who are nominated and elected to be here. And that is what we're doing.
That's right. Easy peasy.
So, Madam President, I think it's been said. We know why we're here. We're here because there's been a breakdown in leadership. There's been a breakdown in communication. There's been a breakdown in the ability to compromise and come to a middle ground on the other side. But we're given another chance, and we'll see if that pans out. But in the event that it does not, then I am certain in the leadership of the current Premier. And so this commission will, in fact, be properly constituted at the end of the day. Madam President, I raise one more issue. I note that there's also comparisons being made with the federal Integrity in Public Life bill. I think we can all recognize and appreciate the uniqueness of Nevis. That is why we wear the flag pin separately. That's why the flag stands here in the Honorable House. We recognize in the very same Constitution that was referenced multiple times that I was not privy to be alive for, but I uphold the value of. So we recognize that Nevis exists within the Federation, but it is unique, and we have unique needs that we sometimes have to make provisions for. Some good, and some include a breakdown on the other side. So this might not be the case in the federal government, where there is a constituted opposition leader, because they could come together and indicate that support. So they did not have this need that we have currently in Nevis. And when we have a need in Nevis, we don't sit back and wait. We step forward and we aim to fix it. And that is exactly what we are here to do. And so, Madam President, I will end by wishing this bill safe passage through this honorable House. Thank you.
Thank you.